Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at the Glen Scotia 18-year-old 46% ABV. Dustin, got pretty good interest from the Victoriana that we did, so we have been meaning to do more Glen Scotia, so we wanted to bring another one out, see what we thought of it. I know you're a big fan of the 15, but anytime you have an 18-year-old whiskey at 46% ABV, always should be an interesting experience.
Yeah, we had a lot of comments about the 18, and so I said, well, let's do that. I was actually going to bring the 15, and then I literally had it in the box to bring over here today, and I was like, you know what? There was like 2 or 3 people asking about the 18. We're doing the 18.
Yeah, aged in American oak and then oloroso sherry, is that right? Yeah, aged American oak, then oloroso sherry. Nice, rich, dark, what you'd expect from a nice sherry maturation, but maybe a little bit lighter than what you think you get after 18 years.
Well, the thing is, they don't really state if they color or not, so this is one I trust on that.
Right, that's
it's not chill filtered, but they don't state non-colored, so.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, Glen Scotia seems to really like to bring out that spicy oak note. They do that in the Victoriana. They do it here. We'll get into the 15, which I think it does it as well.
Sometimes, though, when the ABV is lower, where this is 46, where the Victoriana was 51 or something like 51, 52, usually some of those notes come up a little bit more. Even if it's spice even if it's oak spice, it's a little spicier. And this one is dialed up for me.
And I think what they're doing, just a guess, I think they're doing like some recharred barrels. I can't definitively state that, but they've done it in a very nice way where you're still getting like kind of orchard fruits coming up initially. You're getting red fruits from the sherry coming in there at the end. And then I'm getting I always kind of come back like honeycomb, golden graham kind of notes from these lightly charred, oaky notes.
Yeah, now they kind of got past the initial spiciness. You're right, there's a lot of char, and it reminds me a lot of the Talisker 15 2019 special release.
Yeah, that 15-year cask strength, yeah.
Yeah, the char note is very similar to that. But unlike the Talisker profile of that whiskey, this one is very fruity, just like the Victoriana.
Yeah, really just, it's a simple, well-put-together nose. There's not a ton here, but it's not boring.
Yeah, I would say, besides what I've already mentioned, red apple skin, and then spiced pear.
Okay.
On the nose.
I'm getting just a hint now of I want to say like a woody pastry chocolate. So not a deep, rich chocolate, just kind of a dry, I don't know, it's almost like a donut that's been sitting in it's a little old.
It's the last one?
Yeah, it's the last one.
No one picked and it was there the next day?
Yeah. And it's kind of got that kind of aged sort of chocolate note.
Yeah, dried out.
Yeah, just pleasant, nice, fruity.
Pleasant, nice. There's a nice little rich barley note to it. The oak note is kind of picking up a little bit. I'm not getting a ton of the chocolate notes, but, I don't pick up everything. But I tell you what, the char, along with the fruit notes, works pretty well. Now maybe a little bit of vanilla. What are you picking up on the palate?
It's definitely pretty much what you get on the nose. The red fruits dial back a little bit. Orchard fruits, maybe a little forward. I do still get that kind of chocolate kind of hint that sneaks in there every once in a while. Nice spice, good oak. Vanilla comes in kind of mid-palate real nicely on there. And real heavy where I didn't get much on the nose.
Speaking of that vanilla, which I did get a twinge on the nose, you're right. It's just in the mid-palate. And that mid-palate, that vanilla is completely intermingled with the char note. It's just vanilla char on that mid-palate. Then when it finishes, man, it kind of comes back. The fruity note's a little bit more prevalent. And then kind of that maritime salty type feel, to it on the finish. Now, initially, when I did take it on the palate, it was a little sickly, fruity sweet on that particular one. The spices kind of got a little bit high, but just, like you said, when you swallow, mid-palate, oak, vanilla, nice fruitiness as it comes in.
There's almost when people talk about the Campbelltown funk, the way this one kind of brings in some funk is it's almost like a vegetal, herbal kind of sort of semi-sour note that kind of comes in there, kind of like a stewed fruit kind of thing. It's very subtle. It's not offensive, but it's definitely got a little, that's different.
Well, with water, it's more distinguishing. It's easier to pick up with water. Now, there is a very Springbank 10 funkiness to this whiskey in the back, but you're right, some type of seashore, seaweed. You said vegetal.
Yeah.
There is something
There's a saltiness to it, you're right. Yeah. But I guess the saltiness to me and the oak kind of go together, whereas the funk seems separate, but they're all really kind of together.
The funk part of the outdoors with this one, in my opinion. Could be wrong, though.
It is kind of an outdoorsy, like you're in a garden and there's an old There's an old ship sitting there, like that's kind of washed up ashore. So you got some wood, some salt, and you got some vegetables.
Twinge of mineral, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could be convinced a twinge of mineral in here. But it's part of that funk.
It's part of that char too, I think. Like I think the char has a mineral note to it.
Could be.
And that could be the coastal part of the oak.
Yeah, I haven't had enough Glen Scotia to really pick it apart like I can with a lot of distilleries. But I will tell you this: there's a few things. You said it's simple, and it is pretty simple.
Well, the nose was simple.
Yeah, agreed. That's what we're back on now. I completely agree with that statement. But the 4 or 5 things that are here are pretty well done.
They're unique as well. I mean, it's not maybe simple, but it's not something you've necessarily had before unless you've really gone down the Glen Scotia rabbit hole. It's a different kind of Springbank Campbelltown funk. It's its own little thing. There's no peat here as far as I know, which I think is also kind of playing a role here.
Really?
If there is, it's very light. I mean, I'm sure it's got 5 ppms at least because
it feels
everything has
it feels
a little
Springbank-ish.
Yeah, but I think that's more coastal. I mean, again, they're also kind of. I mean, Campbelltown's not a big region. They don't get too far away from the sea there.
Yeah, this is the funky smell. Doesn't remind me of a Springbank 10 with just a dash of Lagavulin 12.
Ooh, interesting.
Just kind of round it out. It comes off on the nose with water, especially far more aggressive than 46% ABV.
It's a richer like sweetness in the back end with the water.
What it does is it takes the peppery notes and spice and pepper. Takes those notes down a little bit. Oak kind of lets it play a little bit more, shows you a little bit more what it can do. I mean, it's had 18 years to age, so I mean, it is there. Yeah, I would definitely recommend, at least on the nose, adding water on this. How about the finish?
Ooh. You know, the funny thing is there, I was going to explain the taste, but you said finish, really? That's what's different here. Finish is longer now with the water. Got a nice linger. The spice is now more integrated with the wood. It goes all the way through. The richness of the sweetness is turned up. The separation between those orchard fruits, the dark red fruits, and like kind of that chocolate, it's sort of, they come together, and I don't know that it's as interesting, but that's really nice.
Yeah, so with water, it did initially on the palate come off a little bit thin.
Nice spiciness.
Yeah, it was kind of watered down. And then mid-palate, oak and vanilla. When you swallow the fruits, but the spice really came back on the finish.
I mean, it's still going really nice.
The spice is really, I think, the show here in a lot of ways. The spice in the charred cask.
I mean, that's what Glen Scotia specializes in is really nice spices.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be in the mood to have it, I think. But today's one of the days I'm definitely in the mood to have it. So, very interesting 18-year-old whiskey. Good 46% ABV. That's the minimum, or that's the average, or excuse me, the minimum good ABV for a particular whiskey.
You can go 45.7 or something Talisker, but that's about it.
That's about it. But this one does handle water fairly well. And it does become more interesting on the nose with water, which isn't a shocker. But on the palate, too, it's even though it comes off a twinge thin initially on the palate, I still think what I get on the finish is definitely worth exploring. Dustin, where you at as far as the whiskey on this one?
It's actually still got an oily enough mouthfeel for me.
Agreed.
Which is surprising.
It holds water.
Like, it actually is fairly oily. You know, Mike, I'm going to give this actually a higher score than I was planning.
Give it to me.
Give it an 88.
Yeah, I've been between 2 numbers most of the time
Really
here.
nice.
I'm between an 86 and an 87.
Okay.
I kind of thought 86 initially, but with water, it handled water really well, so I'm going to go with an 87. This is an extremely enjoyable whiskey. Wouldn't mind a little bit more ABV, but it might unbalance.
The spice might get a little intense at that higher.
It depends what the spice does. You're right,
Yeah.
but this is definitely one that focuses on that spice. So, if that's something that you guys like, this should be a dram. They'd be interesting.
I'm really impressed by the legs. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pick that up on camera, but it
really
does
got
for
some
the
nice
ABV.
legs. Yeah, it comes off a little bit denser.
Yeah, and that's actually why I bumped it up because I came in, I was going to give it an 87. I was sure this was 87 whiskey. But I'm going to give that extra point just because, again, the oiliness is surprising me today. About 150s U.S. retail on these.
Solid buy.
Reasonable. I paid
For an
100.
18-year-old.
I paid 100 for this one,
Better.
which makes this an easy buy. In fact, I should have got 2, but really like it for what it is. That's really about all I got to say about this one.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I had an initial idea, but then as I started to experience this whiskey, I gave it a 1 point higher score as well. So we started out in a different position, but basically we had a very similar experience. I guess what you would say is this is a pretty impressive whiskey. If you guys like the Victoriana, this doesn't have quite the alcohol punch. It's a different whiskey, but there will be a lot of similarities here that you can gravitate to, especially that charred oak note and those fruits.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, those remain consistent. Anyway, those are our thoughts on this 18 wheel. We're bringing you the 15 here soon. The other Campbelltown.
Yeah.
We'll do more of them. Let us know what you guys think. And until next time, Dustin, what do we wish the folks?
Happy funky drinking.
We'll see you then.